everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video I'm going to be doing this super sparkly lilac and lemon acrylic design set, so I really hope you all enjoy watching. As you can see, I'm working on my Glamerliz practice hand. I have already applied my tips and a thin clear acrylic base so that we can jump straight to the design. But first of all, I'm going to show you guys the products I'm using today. So I'm using CJP Fantasy as my core colour. However, all of the coloured acrylics I'm using today are going to be from Wowbao. So here we have Lemonade, and then the purple lilac shade I'm going to be using is called Wishes. It's such a gorgeous colour. Then for my glitters, I have Lavender Fields from the Nail Team. Now, I don't think this one's available anymore as it was a limited edition. Then I have Wizards Wonderland, which is such a gorgeous, super chunky mix. And then we have this beautiful Lilac Iridescent mix, which I believe is from Smileys, but I will double check and leave everything in the description box below. On to the nails, I'm going to be starting off on the middle finger by doing a V-shape smile line. So I'm coming in with CJP Fantasy and blending out the back of that bead, and then I'm just using my brush to create the shape. So as you can see, I'm just using the sides of my brush to carve out that shape. I'm trying to get a lot of the shape done with my brush so that I don't have too much filing to do. One of the things I love about CJP is you get a lot of playtime. I'm using there the one Monomer, which gives me, like I said, a lot of playtime to mold the acrylic where I want it to be. And that's one of the things I find amazing when I'm doing any color blocking or smile lines, because they are something I struggle with, but I find it a little bit easier when I am using the CJP core colors. Usually when I'm doing a set of nails, I will try to use anyway, the entire brand. So if I'm using CJP cores, I usually use their colors. But I wanted to do a lilac and lemon set using those Wowbao colours, but I didn't have a core colour from Wowbao that I felt matched those. So that's why I went in with my trusty Fantasy from CJP. When I am using my CJP powders, I'm using the CJP Monomer, and when I'm using the Wowbao powders, I'm using the Wowbao Monomer. So I do just have 2 pots of Monomer set up just outside of shot so that I'm making sure that I'm still using the liquids that go with the powders. Coming in here with my cuticle bead, as you can see, I'm trying to tuck it in as close as I can to that cuticle, and then just pulling it down over the previous bead of acrylic just to blend it all in. I'm trying to get everything as neat as I can so that I have a minimal filing to do. And obviously, if you're working on yourself or a client, you want to be really, really careful that you're not getting any product on the skin or the cuticles. I'm now going to leave my smile line to set because I do want to file it crisp. So whilst that's setting, I'm going to move on to the pointer finger. I'm going to be doing a bit of an ombre with glitter on this nail. So I'm coming in with my colours quite thin to begin with and just building up the colour just so I don't build up too much thickness. So as you can see, I'm placing my bead down and I'm just pulling it down to the very tip of the nail. I did find this colour a little bit not tricky to work with, but I found it a little bit sheer, so that was why I decided to work quite thin with it, just so I could build up the coverage without adding too much thickness. It's such a beautiful soft lemon colour though. I absolutely love this one. Again, always try to keep my acrylic application as neat as possible, so I'm doing a lot of patting and pressing with my brush just to get a nice smooth application, blending everything in as I go. Now I did feel as though this colour looked a little bit transparent, so here I'm just coming in and building that colour up a little bit more, especially down right at the very tip of the nail, as that's where I want the lemon to really pop. So as you can see, I've placed that bead of acrylic down right at the tip and then blended it back so that the yellow is really opaque at the very tip because we're going to be doing an ombre. Now usually I would let my first colour set, but because I'm doing a lot of design work in this set, I do come straight in with the lilac once I have finished applying the lemon. The colours work really well together, so I didn't have too much of an issue. So I'm going to start off by picking up quite a small bead of Wishes because this one is actually very, very pigmented, and I knew that it would overpower the lemon. So that's why I've just come in with a really small bead to begin with, just to start off creating that fade. As you can see, I've placed it down and I'm really washing it out so that it doesn't overpower the lemon too much. I'm then coming in with another small bead at that cuticle area. As you can see, I'm tapping it up into place and then just lightly pulling it down. I'm not pulling it all the way down to that blend area because I don't want to overtake the lemon too much. So I'm just being really careful, wiping off my brush and fading it down. Then I'm just coming in with small beads of acrylic to really try and perfect that blend. This was a tricky ombre, to be honest. The two colours didn't blend together very easily because the purple is really pigmented. So I did realise it was going to be a little bit tricky to ombre with the lemon. So that's why I'm taking my time and just working in small beads of acrylic. Just building up that colour until I'm happy with it. I am going to be coming over the top of this now with glitter anyway, so it didn't necessarily need to be a perfect ombre, but I wanted to still be happy with it anyway. Now, because that purple has overtook the lemon a little bit, I just come in with another small wash of the lemonade just to crisp it up and make it look a little bit brighter. And that's why I worked really thin and using only small beads of acrylic, because then I'm not adding too much bulk to the nail. Then I'm going to come in with my glitters. So I'm starting off with the Iridescent Lavender, and I'm picking this up using a teeny tiny bead of clear acrylic, and I'm just swooshing this across that ombre. A lot of the other glitters that I'm going to be using are quite chunky, so that's why I wanted this fine glitter mix down as a bit of a background for those. Just blending it out slightly, and then I'm coming in and picking up the chunkier pieces of glitter from the Lavender Fields mix. So I'm just using my wet brush to dip into those and pick out the pieces that I want. Just kind of picking out the little flowers that I like, the colours that I like, so that it ties together nicely. Then I've switched to the Wizards Wonderland mix. This has got some really chunky pieces in there, and the iridescent, which I love. In this particular set, I wanted a mix of metallic and iridescent glitters, so that's why I used a couple of different glitters to get the effect that I wanted. So I'm just mainly picking the butterflies and the stars out of this particular mix and adding a couple of those on, and just look how pretty that looks. So I'm going to leave that to set and we will encapsulate it further along in the video. So my smile line had now set, and off camera I did give it a little file just to file it nice and crisp. As you can see, it looks a lot sharper now. Then I'm coming in with the wishes down one side, getting it as close to that smile line as I can. It doesn't matter if it overlaps because you can file off any excess. But on the actual tip, I'm trying to keep my colour quite thin because I want to add some glitter. So I'm just fading that out to the tip, and I'm only doing it on one side because we're going to come in with the lemonade on the other side. Now this particular colour, like I said, is highly pigmented. You can literally pick up a tiny bead and just paint it on. So that's what I was doing there. Then the lemonade has a slightly different consistency, so I worked slightly different with that. I picked up a larger bead and I'm just patting it into place rather than painting it on to begin with. Again, getting it as close to your smile line. You need to make sure that there's not a gap between your smile line and your coloured acrylics. Then I'm just going to blend those two colours together in the centre, kind of like a vertical ombre, but I didn't need to worry about the blend being perfect, as down the centre is where I'm going to be applying my glitters. And I just wanted to take a moment to apologise for the groggy voice. I have such a cold right now. It's actually on the way out, but my nose still feels really bunged up, which is making me sound absolutely awful. But I wanted to get this video voiced over so that I could get it uploaded for Tuesday evening, because I kind of am trying to stick to the schedule of uploading on a Saturday and a Tuesday. So yeah, I just wanted to get it done, so I do apologise for that. Back to the nails. I'm now just using my wet brush and picking up some of the chunky pieces from that Wizards Wonderland mix. I love this mix. It's such a fun mix, and I can incorporate it in lots of different sets because I just pick out the pieces that I want. There's butterflies in there, there's stars, there's moons, there's dots. Like I said, it's such a fun mix. Now, because the coloured acrylics I've popped down are still tacky, I'm not picking up these pieces of glitter with any acrylic. I'm just picking them up with my wet brush and then pressing them down into that tacky acrylic, and they'll hold in place already until we encapsulate. And then, because I thought it kind of looked as though they'd just been stuck on the nail, I decided to wash over them with a little bit of that iridescent lavender glitter mix. So I'm just washing that over just to give it a little bit of extra sparkle. Keeping everything as neat as I can, and I'm using my brush all the time to nudge the glitter pieces around until I'm happy with how they're placed. I ended up removing this star just because I felt as though it was going too far down the sides. I wanted there to still be enough of the colour showing. And where I haven't added these pieces of glitter with any additional acrylic, you get a lot more playtime to move them around and remove them if you decide to. So I'm then going to leave those to set, and again we'll encapsulate that free edge further along in the video. So moving on to the ring finger, I'm coming in with Lemonade at the cuticle area. So as you can see, I picked up a medium-sized bead. I'm tapping it up into place at the cuticle area, trying to keep my application as neat as possible. I'm using the very tip of my brush to tap it into place, and then the belly of my brush to blend it down. Still trying to keep that quite thin because the Wowbao colours are design powders, so they do need to be encapsulated even if you was doing a full colour nail with them. I'm then just going to come in with another bead, placing that down roughly in the middle of the nail, and then I'm just blending that down just to bring that blend slightly further down the nail. And then because I did feel as though this colour did look a little bit transparent, I did end up coming in with another wash of acrylic. So I probably built this up a little bit more than what I would have wanted to for a design powder, but I just really wanted to get that true colour there. Now I'm going to be doing a glitter fade on this now using all of the glitters we've used so far. So I'm coming in with the Lavender Iridescent mix. I've picked this up with a small wet bead of clear acrylic, and I'm just placing it down on the nail. And I want to cover that entire tip area, and I want it to fade back into the lemonade. So as you can see, I'm just using my brush, flipping it into reverse and fading that glitter back. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point because we're going to be coming over the top with all of our chunkier glitter mixes. So then I'm coming in with the Nail Team's Lavender Fields, picking out the chunkier pieces that I want to use. I love these flowers that are in this mix. Then again, I'm just using my wet brush to pick up those chunkier pieces from the Wizard's Wonderland mix, and I'm just placing them wherever there's room to fit some in. I loved how this combination of glitters looked once they had been capped and top coated. They just really worked well together. On to the baby finger, I'm coming in with the Wishes. So as you can see, I'm just painting this colour on. Like I said, it's so highly pigmented, a little bit goes a really long way. So I'm just painting that on at the very tip of the nail and then blending it back. And then I'm going to just build up the colour ever so slightly more, just because I really wanted that to pop down at the free edge of the nail. Keeping it nice and thin and nice and neat, just because we are going to be encapsulating. And then I've come back in with my CJP Fantasy. So I've come in with a small bead of Fantasy, and Fantasy is another highly pigmented colour. So I've popped down a small bead just to perfect that blend. Then I'm coming in with my Cuticle Bead, tapping it up into place at the cuticle. As you can see, I'm tilting the finger downwards when I'm working in that cuticle zone. This is just to stop the acrylic running back and flooding the cuticles. Now I love Fantasy, it's one of my favourite colours, especially to do an ombre with, because I find no matter what colour I use it with, it ombres absolutely beautifully, and I felt as though it did really ombre nicely with the Wishes as well. On this now, I'm going to come in with the larger chunky pieces from the Wizard's Wonderland mix, and I'm just going to place them down going across that fade. I do think I only stuck with this one glitter on this now because I really wanted to just give some more of the chunky iridescent pieces a go. As you can see, there's some huge stars and hearts in this mix, so just having this glitter down on this now just gave me a chance to use some of those larger pieces. Now again, because I've only picked them up with my wet brush, I'm pressing them into that tacky layer of acrylic just so that they will hold in place until it comes to encapsulating. Oh, I did end up as well actually coming in with some of that iridescent lavender mix and just popping a little bit of that down as well. Now this is what the nails looked like once we had finished all of the design work. So I'm now going to come in and encapsulate. So I'm encapsulating using the Wowbao Crystal Clear. So as you can see, I've picked up a large bead and I'm encapsulating just the very tip of this nail. I don't need to encapsulate the smile line because that's been built up using a core powder, so it doesn't need to be encapsulated. I I'm just encapsulating in our colours and our glitters. So I've faded that back over the core colour. It doesn't matter if you overlap your smile line because you'll file away that excess. And then I'm just building up the thickness of the tip and making sure all of those pieces of chunky glitter are encapsulated in. Making sure to get right down into those side walls and making sure that they're nice and neat as well and not getting any product on the skin. So as you'll see here, I just come in with a small bead just to make sure it gets right down into those wings, because otherwise when it comes to filing, you can end up removing a little bit too much product and then having a bit of a gap there, which will end up with some breakages. I'm then going to move on and encapsulate the ring finger. So as you can see, I washed over that now with some monomer as well. This is just to help my clear acrylic flow over all of those chunky pieces of glitter. So I decided to start at the very tip of this now because these nails are quite long. So I've come in with a bead of acrylic at that very tip, making sure to really encapsulate around all of those chunky pieces, making sure that I'm building up enough thickness to allow for some filing. Then I'm just working my way down the nail using medium-sized beads of acrylic. I don't need to overly build up the encapsulation layer because I have built up my colour and my glitters a little bit, but you do need to make sure you're putting in your strength and your structure there. I'm trying to keep everything as neat as I can, especially around those side walls because I don't want to end up with too much filing. Then I'm coming in with my cuticle bead, just tapping it up into place and then pulling it down the nail. As I said, I had built up that lemonade a little bit too thick there, so I didn't need to add too much clear. Off camera, I then encapsulated the rest of the nails, and then as well off camera, I did do all of the filing and buffing, and I also gave the nails a good scrub to remove all of the dust so that we can now come in and top coat. So I'm top coating using the Wowbao Diamond Shine top coat. I'm absolutely loving this top coat. It gives off such a high shine, glassy finish. So I'm just going to apply a thin layer of this to all of the nails, and then I shall pop them in to cure, and we're ready to take a look at the finished result. So I really hope you all enjoyed watching, guys. I wasn't 100% happy with the finished result of this set. I had a yellow and lilac set in mind and I just thought I would freestyle it, and in all honesty they didn't turn out how I'd pictured them in my head, but I do still think they're quite a pretty set. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you did all enjoy watching, then please do give the video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscribe button. So this is what the finished result looked like. I hope you're all doing okay, by the way. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Thank you all so much for watching my videos. It really means a lot to me. And I shall hopefully see you all again very soon in the next one. Lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.